Hello, my name's Gareth Waring and this is my self-initiated design brief. My project is about the biosphere consciousness. This is a term coined by theorist Jeremy Rifkin from his book The Empathic Civilization. So first of all, we need to look at what the biosphere actually is. It's all the ecological systems, all the living beings and their relationships within Earth. Now, what Rifkin claims from scientific studies is that everything within the biosphere is connected, and all the activity that occurs by these living things within the biosphere affects one another. And up until this point, all these activities have had a fine balance between one another. However, we as humans are really pushing the limits of this balance with our explosion of global consumerism, where we are consuming way more than we need to, with a lack of interest or understanding of the processes that goes through for the products that we want and the strain that it's causing on the whole of the biosphere. If we take the processing of the products that we use, for example, first we would need to find the resources, and then they would need to be farmed, mined and processed, turned into products for us to use, and of course then they need to be shipped either locally or globally around the world. And of course all of this activity and these processes is going to cause a lot of emissions and a lot of pollution. And if we go back to where everything is connected, of course those emissions and pollution will go back into the air and back into the oceans. Now we cannot ask the question of why has it got like this? Why have we become such a consumer-centric species? Well, we're very much tuned into being able to enjoy our moment, whether it's the food we eat or the clothes we buy or just the experience of going shopping. Now, instead of us just thinking about enjoying the moment, why don't we actually ask the question about why we can actually enjoy the moment? As it's all the process that happens before and all the process that happen after it that give us the chance to be able to have these products that we love so much. And there are people who are beginning to get this consciousness, who are actually thinking about where their things are coming from and what harm it is doing to the whole of the earth. But unfortunately, most people are still at that enjoy the moment phase. Which brings me to my project, which will be to bring awareness of the connection that our consumerism has on the biosphere. And with all the things that we do actually consume, it's going to be a huge challenge to find a simple message that I can convey to the audience. My plan is to create posters that can be viewed online in print format and hopefully interactive as well. My choice for making a poster is simply for I believe it's the most effective way of advocating the message. And its versatility of being able to be changed into different formats enables me to be able to reach out to a greater audience. And that then leads me on to talk about who the target audience for this project is actually going to be. I've categorized them into three separate areas. The first one is the millennials, age range between 20 to 40 years old. I think they're currently the most socially active, online and offline. If I want a message to be spread in an effective way, I think they'll be a good target to advocate my message to. Second one is young families. Obviously, this is an issue that concerns the future. So young families is definitely a priority of the target there. My third one is the environmentalists. I've included these as a target audience because I feel they'll have the greatest knowledge and understanding of what I'm trying to say. They'll be able to provide more information online to people who are curious about what the project is about. Moving on to the research. First thing I wanted to do was to take some keywords that I took from my initial research on the book and on the topic in general, and was hoping that these keywords will spark an interest that I could explore further. I then translated these keywords into images and searched online for different types of images that related to them. This was to find a way of being able to start visualizing my research. I also looked at quotes from Jeremy Rifkin, and this one in particular really set the direction of my project. He says that one's daily consumption of energy and other resources ultimately affects the lives of every other human being and every other creature that inhabits the earth. Now, what that tells me is the importance of the balance between all living things on earth. And that is the key word that I want to convey my message on. So I went about looking for some more images to build up this vision of balance. I took this from various different types of mediums, including this game of Jenga that kind of stuck with me as it's complex. The name of the game is to be balanced. Elements can be taken out of it, and that can disrupt the balance, which draws parallels to the biosphere and the consumption. So I thought I'd give this a go of trying to find a way of using this as my message. I looked at how it can be broken up, what each piece could represent within my message, and how I can basically translate these pieces into parts of the biosphere. So I've done this by looking at just the words and using them as the actual pieces from the Jenga game. And the words would actually be the balance. They would be stacked up like those pieces from the game and try and form this concept of balance within the biosphere. And of course, I needed to find a way of finding that human connection, human interaction with the biosphere to really set my message off. And then I just went back to the game and thought about how humans interact with the game of Jenga, and I thought that would be a perfect way for showing the control that humans have over the biosphere, which is enhanced by the contrast in size of the hands compared to the small lettering. That really connotates the idea of power. With my initial concept in place, I then looked at messages or slogans that I could use within my poster. I focused these slogans or messages on the words connection, human or species, to really represent what my message is going to be about. And I decided to choose on the slogan humans being. The reason being is because of obviously the twist on our name, human being. I quite like the idea of those suspension points as well, because it will make the actual slogan quite versatile, where I can use any word after that and maybe create a series of posters. Now, to look at the actual slogan in more detail, if I go back to my objective of trying to make people aware of their habits, their activities, and what they're doing to the whole earth and the biosphere, having this message of humans being actually looks at it as a third person as opposed to first person, which we always do with every other message. And we could say it's almost like another species making a poster about us based on their observations. So once I combined my slogan choice and my actual concept for the visuals, I came up with this poster. It's basically showing the hand is holding smokestacks with the pollution, smoke pouring out the top. It's almost drifting towards the word air and pushing it out of the stack of words. This is to create some visual tension within the poster, and within mine I've always got the idea of Jenga, so I'm always looking at ways to remove these words to make the balance of all the other words unstable. Going back up to the slogan or the title, I chose the word selfish to complete the sentence, mainly because I think that the burning of fossil fuels is a choice made by humans, and kind of a selfish one at that in this day and age. So after the initial poster, I then created a few other posters just to show the versatility of the slogan "Humans Being." I looked at areas where human activity is also causing a problem within the biosphere. And I then added a final word to the slogan to complete the sentence and to complement the sign that I've made with the hands and word stack. And so moving on to my channels of communication, there'll be two main ways I'll be going for this, taking in consideration my target audience. The first channel would be obviously online, being able to show my poster on various social media sites. I'm sure it'll be very effective. I'll be able to gain some feedback to see how well my project is going, how well it's being received. The second channel of communication will be the local community. I'll be trying to make some assets that I'll be able to use as maybe public installations where the local community will be able to participate in some activities or events. In addition to this, obviously with posters traditionally being shown in public, in high streets, on billboards, in public spaces, I'll obviously try to utilise this strategy as well to make sure that the offline assets that I produce are equally as strong as the online assets that I make for my project. So moving on to the final part of my presentation, how will I be measuring the success of this project? The first being the activity it has on social media, being able to keep an eye on how many shares, how many likes are given, and the comments that are made. Hopefully these comments will allow me to adapt my project or amend it to make it better for the future. Listen to the comments, replying back obviously as well if they have any questions. We'll form this sort of feedback loop that'll be very beneficial to the whole project. The second way I'll be measuring success is the actions that the public take upon looking at my project. If I can see or I see evidence of people actually changing what they do within their family or their consumer habits, that would be the greatest success really, to actually affect someone's life, that they change their lifestyle completely. That'll be the best way, and obviously if they're able to share that through social media, that'll probably be a way of me being able to keep track or being able to see the changes that they make.